So it's April 5th, which marks the beginning to Holy Week. That makes today Sunday of the Passion, or Palm Sunday. Generally in the Lutheran tradition, worship begins outside in some form, and it includes the procession with the palms, usually including the song, "All glory, laud, and honor." It's also the day, it starts triumphal with Jesus' triumphal entry, but by the end of the service, the dynamic has dramatically shifted, and we're moving on the way to the crucifixion and so forth. And then the preceding days, the progressive days within Holy Week, open up the narrative and the experience of Jesus' final days. Today is generally the longest reading of all the Sundays of the church year. If you're following along at home and you want to pull out your Bible and read, then the readings for today include Isaiah 50, verse 4 through 9a, Psalm 31, verses 9 through 16, Philippians chapter 2, verses 5 through 11, and then again, this is the longest reading of the year, Matthew chapter 26, beginning in verse 14, but going all the way through the end of chapter 27. So Matthew 26, verse 14, all the way through the end of chapter 27. We won't get into the celebratory nature of the service today. We're going to use a hymn that will be familiar to many of you, but we're using the hymn over time. Unfortunately, in certain places within the church, this idea has built up that, and this is what also created or helped to create anti-Semitism, the idea that the Jews crucified Jesus. And anybody who says that or even begins to think that fails to appreciate that Jesus was a Jew, his immediate followers were Jews, as if this group was somehow separate from him. It wasn't. And the deeper meaning in all of this is that, and as we've discussed before, on other settings, in other services at other times, sin, in its most simplest definition, is any break in relationship, because we are always reminded that God created us for relationship. That's why we're here, to be in relationship with God and to be in relationship with one another. And that's why I talk so often about our ability, or the lack thereof, to genuinely love one another, to genuinely practice mercy, especially as we hurt one another, disappoint one another. And so the deeper meaning in all of this is that we crucified Jesus, because we just don't know what to do with a love like his. We don't know what to do with a love like God's, that enters into human existence and calls us, accepts us where we are, how we are, and yet not only that, calls us to be more than we are, calls us to go deeper, that we would be able to love one another, that we'd be able to forgive one another, that we would be able to live in relationship together. So don't isolate any groups thinking that somehow some groups are better, some groups are worse, especially in respect to what these texts teach or would have us learn today. Nobody's better, nobody's worse. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. But every day, because of the grace and mercy of God, every day becomes a new opportunity for us to do mercy, to do justice, to be kind. But for now, as we try to open up Holy Week and enter into a place of contemplation for this week, before we arrive at Easter Sunday, we'll use this hymn to go deeper. Alas, my treason, Jesus hath undone thee. 'Twas I, Lord Jesus, it was denied thee. I crucified thee. Lo, the good shepherd, for the sheep is offered. The slave hath sinned, and the Son hath suffered for our atonement, while we nothing needed. God interceded for me, kind Jesus, was thine incarnation, thy mortal sorrow, and my life's oblation, thy death of anguish, and thy bitter passion for my salvation. Therefore, kind Jesus, since I cannot pay thee, I do adore thee, and will ever pray thee. Think on thy pity and thy love unswerving, not my deserving. Have a blessed Holy Week.